Inspirational talk. Everyday people. Inspirational talk. Intentional choices. Inspirational talk. Extraordinary outcomes. It's Inspirational Talk with Toneal. Now here's your host, International Award-winning author and filmmaker, Toneal M. Jackson.
Hey guys, it is yet another day to be coming on, and we are going to be talking all things inspirational. I am your host, International Award-winning author and filmmaker, Toneal M. Jackson, and I'm so glad to be able to come on with you one more time. We know that we have been in the midst of a phenomenal month of March. This is Women's History Month. And so all of my guests this month have been intentional. They have all been incredible women sharing their stories. I don't know if you all remember some of these phenomenal guests that we've had, but we had Ms. Lisa D. Adams a couple weeks ago, the seed sowing maven, and she talked about a lot of things, including her upcoming project for My House, My Rules, Not Up in Here, which is going to actually debut tomorrow in Chicago. And so we're so excited for her. We also had Miss Corrine LaFont coming to us from the islands, and she was just kind of sharing some things for our authors and entrepreneurs, some great marketing tips and things for exposure. But to close out our month this month, we're closing it out with a bang. This guest is someone who is a friend of mine. She's also a client, and I am so excited to have her on. Many of you know her. She is very reserved most of the time, but she has so much power inside of her. She is the author of Stop Sitting and Stand. She is a violinist as well as a piano player and instructor, and she is my guest for tonight. None other than Mrs. Phyllis Calderon. How are you, Phyllis?
Hello. I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you on today. So for those, I gave a brief intro about who you are, but when someone asks you, who is Phyllis? How do you answer that question?
Well, I am first and foremost a child of God, and I am a wife of 25 years. I am a mother of a 23-year-old son, amazing son, and I am a business owner. I am a founder of A Touch of Classical Plus, and I'm a teacher, music teacher, and I'm an author. That's my newest hat.
I love it. And I don't even know if the question is fair to say which capacity do you enjoy serving in the most, because all of them, I'm sure, bring their own set of challenges, rewards, laughs, smiles, tears, and all of everything in between. And so but for you being a musician yourself and also teaching, what do you find to be the greatest satisfaction of both? Is there the same type of satisfaction, or do they bring different types of joy?
I really love teaching. I find that I am able to, help people, help students, and even the parents too, come off of their stuck position, and it is very rewarding to see the breakthrough. And I don't know, I just have to always thank God for how he gives me the tools and the words and the ways and the knowledge to be able to prevent someone from quitting or helping them through a challenging part in their music and how to express, what they're trying to say musically, or just even in and speaking, because playing an instrument, you do have to learn how to speak in public too,
Mhm.
so there's that component, just helping students overcome issues with shyness, because I was once there.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna say. Like, I know that you are somewhat reserved. And
Mhm.
so, like, do you find that your students kind of bring out that more extroverted side of you?
um yes, I mean, I think I am an introvert, but yeah, there are those extrovert parts of me. I do enjoy speaking in front of an audience, you know, but then if I'm, going to a party or something with my husband, I'm like the one that's on the wall watching everybody. I'm the one that won't go out and dance, like, and I like dancing, but I just feel so shy to do it in front of people. But yeah, so there's that introverted part of me, and then that extroverted, and so with the students, I'm just so out of myself,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Because again, we know that you're a musician, so you play multiple instruments,
Mhm.
you teach. But when did the journey all begin? Like, not only when did it begin, but what inspired that artistic journey?
I come from a musical family, so it was always there. The environment was always already created, for my sisters and I. And so both my grandmothers played piano, and my parents and my sister and I lived with my grandmother. After my grandfather died, we lived with her, and so she was always on the piano. My mother was always on the piano playing, and my maternal grandmother, who was from Mississippi, played piano too. She taught all of her 8 children, and then the whole neighborhood, So it's just a part of my DNA, the whole musical part. In the fourth grade is when I started the violin, and that just took over. I remember as a third grader too, wanting to be a journalist, because I loved, you know, reading. I loved writing, but the music took over, and then the violin specifically, and that's what I ended up majoring in college with, violin performance. And yeah, I never sought out to teach though. I wanted to perform. I was not trying to teach. I come from many generations of educators,
Mhm.
but I wanted to perform. Um, when I got the call to teach, by a director of a community orchestra I played with back in the 90s, on the South Side. He started a program for the children in the neighborhood, on the South Side, and asked some of us, orchestral members, if we would teach. Now, I didn't have any pedagogy experience at all. And so I hesitated, but I said, okay, sure. And that was my first taste of teaching. And my very first student, Harry Hunt Jr., whose dad played trumpet in the orchestra. But his son, Harry Hunt, was my very first student. And I saw how he just opened up, and how he loved the violin. And I also saw how much I loved teaching. And so it was after that I decided to get serious about learning how to teach young kids. And I enrolled in the Suzuki instruction, which is a specialized way to teach very, very young children how to play an instrument. And I'll have to say, Harry Hunt Jr. is a musician today, and he's a phenomenal. He plays many instruments today, um, and he's a wonderful violinist.
Wow. Wow. Now, what made you want to teach children as opposed to adults?
Oh well, I teach children and adults. Because I learned how to teach really young children, from the age of 2, 3 years old through the Suzuki method. um, I'm able to really, get in there with the little ones and their parent, to teach them. But I do enjoy working with really young children, though. I mean, I don't mind working with adults, but there's something special about working with the little ones. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Because, and I don't know if that's just with music, but I think that's almost in everything because there is this spark that you see in children's faces that kind of just it innately encourages you, like when
yeah.
you because it's like, man, I taught them that or I
Mhm.
got them to get here. And so I think that is absolutely phenomenal. So, like, do you still actively play and teach, or do you give more time to one or the other?
Lately, well, I should say, in the most recent past, it was more teaching. Teaching took over. I performed less and less over the years, and my performing was kind of at church. I'm a worship violinist, and so I would play with the worship team, and on occasion, the occasional wedding that I would get called to play at. But over the years, I want to say since right before the pandemic, I began to realize, I miss playing. In my youth, I played in the orchestra a lot. I love playing orchestrally, and I just missed it. And so I just started before the pandemic. I began to, practice again. And something my husband shared with me that I share with my students now, you always want to be prepared, for the call, by practicing, and it's kind of like I, I I equate that to faith. We want to take those faith steps. We don't know what's coming. We don't see, what is ahead of us. We walk by faith, and so me preparing by practicing, suddenly I'm getting these calls that come in. Can you come and play for this event? And now it's busy. It's busy. I mean, I've had playing experiences with the great Lee England Jr., who's a phenomenal jazz violinist, and just working with different people and different types of ensembles in the most recent past, over the last year and a half even, has been great. And so last year, I'm part of this music organization in Hyde Park, and every year they have these concerts for the members. The member, it's a teacher membership teacher organization for teachers that serve Hyde Park and South Shore and some of the other South Side communities. And so every year, some teachers will sign up to do these recitals. I was asked to do one this year, and in years past, I would always say no, because it takes a lot to prepare for a concert or a recital.
I'm sure.
And so I decided, let me do this as a way to push myself. So I have a performance April 19th at the Blackstone Library, and it's, when January of this year hit, I was like, why did I agree to this? I'm putting myself out there, and then practicing, and then, and even having to choose, well, what music am I going to play? I'm going to have to relearn or even learn, And so, but I wanted to put myself out there because, I've got to stay ready and stay in shape, and also be a role model for my students,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll be performing soon.
And that's awesome. And we're definitely gonna stay posted. Like once you get those, whatever those announcements are, make sure you post them on social media so we can help to push and promote that. And I would say this, like one of the reasons why it is great to put yourself back out there, because even though I tell people all the time, I'm not a musician. I just raised them. Like it skipped a generation. My mother was a musician. I can look at a piano, like I can play heart and soul with one hand, like either this hand or that hand. I can't do them both at the same time. But the point that I'm making is in any facet of being an entrepreneur, it's necessary that you do put yourself out there, right? Because there's always going to be someone who may not know who you are. This will be the first time that somebody is getting an opportunity to see you or to hear you, and so it's always great to reintroduce. And that's kind of how I look at it. Like as an entrepreneur, we are constantly reintroducing ourselves to the world, right? And you get people who will say, oh my goodness, you're just now doing this, or I'm just now hearing of you. And this is why they think that it's an overnight success. But it's like, I've been doing this for 10 years or 20 years or whatever the time frame is. You're just now hearing about it, right? And so, just congratulations to you and kudos to you for all that you're doing. And for those who are just now tuning in, my guest is the phenomenal, I call her Miss Phyllis, and she is some of everything. The first half of the show, we have been talking about Phyllis as a musician as well as an instructor. So not only does she play multiple instruments, including the violin and the piano, but she is also a strings teacher. She teaches young children how to play as well. But here recently, you decided to add another hat, another iron to the already busy cast of irons. You're like, hey, let's throw something else in there. You recently became an author of the book Stop Sitting and Stand. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Your writing. Uh, it's been a great journey to have written this book, this first book. I've always journaled, and for many years I always would say, I want to write a book, but never did anything about it. When God got hold of me, and that one message that I wrote on my blog, which became the basis for the book, that just set everything off. And then I met you, and you helped me to finish the process. But yeah, the book Stop Sitting and Stand, it's basically a book about being stuck. And I talk a lot about my stuck, and how I rose from that. And I talk about many types of stuck, like doubt, fear, complacency, clutter. There's so many others that are mentioned in the book. And I just talk through my experiences with those forms of stuck, and how I came out of it. And I encourage the reader to look at places in their lives and their heart where they're stuck as well, because we can't grow when we're sitting. We can't see where to go when we're sitting. When we're stuck, we can't move forward. So it's a book that encourages you to move forward.
And you know what? I kind of want to delve a little bit into a couple of those aspects, if you don't mind. And we don't have to go verbatim from the book. If people want the book, you guys can either hit up Phyllis, and Phyllis will give us her website. So you can either reach out to Phyllis, you can go to Amazon, you can go to weareaps.com. There are multiple ways that you can get a copy of her book. But when we're talking about, you mentioned both fear and clutter. Now, most people will kind of say, okay, well, I get where being afraid can get me stuck. But I want for you, if you can, to give like a tip. If people are afraid, what can they do to kind of turn that fear around and get unstuck from their fear?
Well, I think the first thing is recognizing it. That's, first and foremost, recognize where you are, recognize the position in which you sit, and then reach out and seek help. Someone that you trust, someone close to you, who's not going to give you something that, or say something that you just want to hear, but someone who's going to speak the truth in love to you. And yes, it's going to hurt, but that's what you need to get over that fear. And I think also just stepping, when I think about being afraid, you just got to step out and do it. There's many people talk about do it afraid, and it's so true. If you do not step out because you are afraid, you will never know what could be. You will never seize hold of the blessing that is yours, because you're afraid. You will never know what's on the other side if you don't cross the street.
Yeah.
So just do it.
That is awesome. But in that, even though it doesn't seem like it, something else that can keep you stuck, you mentioned clutter. Now, I want you to kind of talk about clutter, because here's the thing. I am in a place in my life where I am actually decluttering, and
Okay.
I am able to see how I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm just flowing so much better because there is less clutter. So kind of talk
Mhm.
about the different types of clutter that people might experience, because people might be cluttered and not even understanding like that's what's holding you back.
Yeah. So some of the one form of clutter is um, you know anxiety. Anxiety is a form of clutter, and when you talked about how you're decluttering your home, when your clothes or whatever is in that area with that room that is cluttered, that's causing the clutter, um, and you walk into it, there's a sense of overwhelm that hits you, and even anxiety, because nothing is in order. Everything is chaos. I think when there is chaos, it's going to bring anxiety over you. And the way to uh, eradicate that, little by little, just do it little by little, to declutter. There can be clutter in, the spiritual clutter, in your heart. Um, and, the way out of that is to confess. There's gunk on your heart. I think when we don't open up our mouths and confess the sin that's there, sometimes we can walk on along and think we're doing well, but the heart is deceitful, and it's nothing better than uh, opening up your mouth and talking and confessing what's in your heart, and just really getting in there. And the same thing like with cleaning your room, cleaning that cluttered room. There's a room in our house, like for years, Toneal, I'm telling you, we've lived here in our house since what, 2003. There's one room that we cannot seem to declutter. And it's better now, but I'm telling you, for years, I would open the door, like I would wake up and have energy to go clean it. I would open the door and I look around, and then that anxiety hits me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I close the door and just walk away.
It's just like, never mind. And you know what? But that right there is literally a life lesson, because I think that happens to us in everyday life, right? Maybe various aspects of our life, but it's like where you hit that one thing that may appear overwhelming. And like you say,
Yeah.
because it appears overwhelming, it brings about anxiety. And many people, when they're seeing all of this stuff, is like, I don't even have it in me today to try to attack it. And I think that one of the best ways to really try to attack it is just piece by piece, little by little, right? Like, instead of saying, instead of looking at the whole room, you know what, I'm going to clean out this section, or I'm going to clean for 30 minutes, like give yourself some type of achievable task, so that way you can then see. Because if I give myself 30 minutes, or if I tell myself, okay, I'm going to clean until this bin is full, or, like attach something tangible to it, so that way, and even if it's something like you were saying, spiritual, like give yourself some type of task that breaks it down, so that way it doesn't feel as overwhelming. Because then, even if you make a small step forward, it's still a step forward, and so I think that, like I remember even in reading a book myself, I know that chapter on clutter, it really resonated with me, and I think that it will for so many others as well. And so for those of you who may just now be tuning in, Phyllis, the fabulous Phyllis, let's do some alliteration there, but she is closing out our Powerful Women's History Month. And, she is incredible in her own right. She has some things that's coming up, and we're going to come back to close that out. But Phyllis, I'd be remiss if I said I didn't see a piano right there in the background. Do it work by any chance? Would you like to give us a little something or another? You can if you want to. I'll relinquish the screen and let you go ahead and do what you do. Give us a little bit of something just until your heart feels glad.
Can you hear it okay? Let's see. Hold on.
That was so beautiful. I love that. And so, if you all would like to either hear more of that, or if you would like to work with Miss Phyllis yourself, she is the founder of A Touch of Classical Plus Incorporated. Phyllis, what is your website? How can people get in touch with you if they wanted to be able to either hire you as a musician or bring their children or themselves to you to learn music?
Well, my website is mrsphylliscalderon.com. And on there, I do have information about how you can purchase my book, Stop Sitting and Stand. And there's information on there about my classes. And if you go to the contact page, there's you can fill out one of the forms that will, if you're interested in hiring me for your wedding or my string quartet, or any type of ensemble, you can fill out that form there. It's mrsphylliscalderon.com.
All righty. Well, I just put it up there in the comments. So if anyone would like to reach out to Phyllis, feel free to do so. She is an extraordinary musician. You all just got a taste of what she's able to do. And we know that you have your event coming up on April 19th. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you would like to give us in terms of announcements that you have that you are working on?
Let's see. The 19th, that information is on the website as well, where I'll be performing. Something new, that I was part of a book collaboration, my first.
Yay.
And so that book just is out now. So it's called Breakthrough Moments. And there were 14 of us authors who submitted a chapter. And mine is called The Moment You Stop Seeing is the Moment You Stop Believing.
Wow.
So this is available on Amazon and on my website as well. This will be up on my website as well. I just got the book in the mail yesterday.
Does that feeling ever get old when you
No.
open up the book to
Yeah, it's such a great feeling just to be part of this journey as a writer.
Yeah, that is so incredible. Now, if you had any, whether it was encouraging or inspirational words to leave for our listening audience today, what would they be?
Wow. I am going to share this comes from Proverbs 4:25, which says, in effect, keep your eyes fixed forward. And I think that will, if you keep your eyes fixed forward, you will eventually stand.
I love that. I love that so much. Thank you so much, Miss Phyllis, for your time. Thank you so much for being a guest and closing out this month with a bang. So again, those of you, if you want to connect with Miss Phyllis, go to her website. I have it in the comment section, which is https:// I'm giving y'all the whole everything, but go to mrsphylliscalderon.com, and there you can learn about everything that Phyllis is doing, whether it's her upcoming projects, one of which she told us about that's happening on April 19th, where she will be in concert. If you're talking about her books, not just to Stop Sitting and Stand, but her newest anthology project, that those are available, as well as if you would like to enroll your student or maybe even yourself, talk to her about music. She is doing a little bit of everything. And ma'am, I applaud you so much. Thank you so much for being a
Thank
guest on
you.
the show.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And so, for everybody else, I just want to thank everyone who tuned in today to this show. Inspirational Talk, what we do, we are all about talking to everyday people with extraordinary stories, making intentional choices to live their best lives. And so, if you or even someone you know would like to be a guest on this show, then feel free to send an email to Toneal Jackson at yahoo.com. That's TONEALJACKSON at yahoo.com. We are always looking to help someone spread a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of joy to someone else. And so, if you'd like to know a little bit more about me and what I do, feel free to go to my website, which is my name is Toneal.com. I serve in a variety of capacities. And just in case you might be interested, make sure that you go to that website, which is my name is Toneal.com. And finally, if you liked what you heard today, and if you would like to be able to be a blessing, feel free to send a donation. You can send it via Cash App, which is $ my name is Toneal. Or if you want to send it via Zelle, you can send it to Toneal Jackson at yahoo.com. Again, we never know what we do, how it may touch, bless, or inspire somebody else. And so I just want to make sure that you guys know how you can be a blessing if you so choose. But keep in mind that on next week, we will be on hiatus. This is spring break week next week. And so we will not be back for another 2 weeks. So we will be back after Easter Sunday. So the Thursday after, or what we call Resurrection Sunday, we will be back on April 13th. So enjoy the week off, but do not forget, if you would like to catch up, you can go to educatedandempowered.vhx.tv, and you can actually subscribe to Inspirational Talk with Toneal for just $4.99 a month. You'll get a new episode every single week. So you can go there if you want to catch up and see everything that you may have missed thus far. But thank you all so much for tuning in to the show. And until next time, you all stay inspired.